on Aging in the Enderite Center, and I am the coordinator in charge of health and wellness programs. Um, my experience is I've been working in the field for over 35 years. I have a master's in exercise physiology and also am certified as a Arthritis Foundation exercise program leader, and that's where today I'm going to discuss exercising with arthritis. So, what I want to start with is just briefly, why are we talking about exercise with arthritis? Well, mainly, we have a lot of people with arthritis. People I run across every day in my classes. Big percentage of my classes, people are dealing with arthritis. I think 1 in 5 people in the U.S. Are dealing with affected by some sort of arthritis, and the term arthritis is just generally pain in and around the joints that can make it hard to move. This actually encompasses about 100 different medical conditions that are characterized or under the arthritis umbrella. So about 100 conditions. The factors, we're not going to go into a lot of information about arthritis specifically, but just to say that, there are some genetic factors, of course, as far as why people end up with arthritis. There are also some lifestyle types of things. So such as carrying around too much weight, putting too much pressure on your joints with that. So the way you live, as far as taking care of yourself, but also just as far as injury. So if you've had injuries, whether it be a recreational type of injury or work-related injury, or maybe a just overuse type injury, any of those could lead to damage to your joints, damage to cartilage, and could end up with dealing with arthritic type of situation. So, again, 100 conditions could be listed as arthritis, but we're going to talk generally when we're going to talk about the main or the most common types here today, and that's these 3 types of fibromyalgia, rheumatoid arthritis, and osteoarthritis. Some very common types. It is important to know if you don't know what type you're dealing with. And that's another class, which we may teach another time, but it is important for you to know what type of inflammation, what type of damage you may be having, what types of things might be something a little bit as far as your treatment plan, some things a little bit specific to certain types of the arthritis. So, but as far as those 3 types, what I want to talk about is that just in general, as far as arthritis and exercise goes, it's very important as far as treatment. Like I said, some of those different types of arthritis might call in for different types of treatment, but it is very generally accepted now that exercise is very important as far as for arthritis in general. So all joints need to be moved, need to be moved through their range of motion, and several times a day is best, or at least every day, but several times a day, to maintain their flexibility, maintain their ability to move, and to keep them well, to keep them healthy. So you've got to take care of that cartilage, take care of those joints. So what I'm going to talk about are 3 types of exercise that are very important. 3 components of exercise, I should say, and this is the same for anybody. But with arthritis, I do want you to keep in mind that, each of these are important. None of them is more important than the other. So, so the first type of exercise is going to be stretching. And when I say stretching, also I may say range of motion. I also may say flexibility. These are all going to be interchangeable terms, more or less. So stretching is going to be a very important component of your exercise plan. And how often you do it, recommended to do this every day, to do stretching every day, to take your joints through the range of motion every day, at least 10 or 15 minutes, or maybe a couple times during the course of the day to just stop, take the time to do some range of motion exercises, to do some stretching. And again, just to help you keep your joints able to move, helps you keep your joints lubricated, helps them to function better. Also then helps you to keep your, helps you with your balance as far as being, having flexible muscles and joints, healthy joints, helps you with your mobility. And also stretching helps prevent injury, keep the muscles strong and stretched. So some of the ways that we're going to talk about, not that we're going to talk about, but some of the ways that we're going to be able to get that stretching into your daily life is by either, like I said, just your own routine at home, your own stretching routine, range of motion routine, or you could take a class. You could take a yoga class, you could take a Tai Chi class, you could just take a stretching class. Any types of group exercise that focuses on flexibility would be great. Do it at home is just as great. So we're going to show you a little bit of that here in a little bit. So another thing, the other second component that we're going to talk about is strengthening. And when I say strengthening, I'm also interchangeable. That's an interchangeable term with resistance training. And also some people will throw that in there also as weight training. And they're all very similar, basically, that you're strengthening the muscles through either resistance of some sort or a weight of some sort. And so that could be anything from, again, the yoga class, another good, where you're using your body weight to develop strength. Resistance training could be something like this band here that some of you have seen before, and a good way to do some quick, very put them behind you and do a chest press, for example, do a shoulder press. You can do a lot of different strength training exercises with one little band. So this would be a good option. Dumbbells and barbells and things like this were another option for strength training. Obviously machines at a gymnasium, the YMCA, or here at the Andrite Center. So a lot of different options as far as doing your strength training. So again, that's very important, just as much as with the flexibility, important to keep your muscles strong. The muscles are supporting the joints and protecting them from injury. So again, it's helping with your mobility, again, helping with your ability to be mobile, helping with bone health. You do need to have weight-bearing activity, and this is going to help you with your bone health and help you reduce the chances of osteoporosis. Also, another thing that people don't sometimes give it credit for is it helps you with weight loss. It helps you with weight loss and maintenance of your proper body weight. So it does that by the fact that muscle tissue is much more metabolically active than, say, fat tissue, and obviously more than other tissues in the body. So keeping your muscle mass intact is a good way for you to keep your metabolism at a good level and high, so that you burn more calories at rest. So another good option, reason to be doing your strength training, other than just the fact that it's really good for your joints. So, and that doesn't mean that you have to be doing so much strength training that you're doing 6 hours a day in the gym and you're getting these great big bulky muscles or anything like that. That's not what we're talking about when I talk about doing strength training. We're talking about doing 2 to 3 times a week, preferably 3, but 2 to 3 times, non-consecutive days. So it might be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. And you would do 20, 30 minutes of strength exercises. You might even get up to where you're doing an hour, but 20, 30 minutes a couple times a week would be sufficient. So again, you've got some good options there as far as how to do those. Very important to be doing those. If you're somebody that does a lot of outside work, so say you're carrying firewood around, you're carrying bags of mulch around, you're pushing and pulling wheelbarrows around and doing things like that, you may not need to do the strength training as much as, say, somebody who sits in an office all day or sits and doesn't do those types of physical activities. So you've got to get your strength in one way or the other. So if you're not doing some physical activity out in the yard, out on the farm, wherever, you need to be making sure you're getting it in, doing your bands, your dumbbells. It can be a class again. It could be the machines at the gym. So another factor. So you got your flexibility, your stretching, you got your strength training. So the very important factors. The last one is cardiovascular. Cardiovascular also will be interchanged with words called such as aerobics or endurance. And this is important for your overall health and wellness, for your heart, lungs, for your vessels, for your muscle function again, for body fluids to be moved through the body. It's also helpful as far as burning calories and again weight loss. And again, that weight loss, weight maintenance is going to be very important for your less wear and tear on your body. It's a lot of wear and tear on your knees, ankles, hips to be carrying around extra weight, even as much as 10 or 15 pounds, 20 pounds. So that's another thing that's good with cardiovascular. And so again, just being able to be mobile, and to get around and to have healthy joints and healthy muscles. And all these three factors, the strength, the flexibility, the cardiovascular is going to be important. So when we look at the cardiovascular, low impact is best. Low impact meaning something like swimming, biking, walking can be low impact, especially if you're not carrying a lot of extra weight. If you're carrying a lot of extra weight, that might be a little hard on your joints again. So that's something to keep in mind. But some low impact, not jumping. So jumping in a dance class would not be a good low impact, but maybe going ahead and doing a dance class where you just stay on your feet and you do the motions, but you don't actually jump. So those would be some good options. But also actually getting out there again and mowing, raking, doing things where you're actually getting your heart rate up and maintaining it, because it is a continuous getting your heart rate up and maintaining and not just a one-time activity. So ideally you would do 30 minutes of this, 5 days a week, 30 minutes of it a day. However, you want to start where you are. So you may start with 5 minutes a day. You may start with 5 minutes every other day and going out and walking or getting on the exercise bike or the rower machine or whatever it is you have access to. You may start with 5 minutes every other day. You may get to where you can do it 5 minutes every day. You may get to then where you can do 7 or 8 minutes every day. As you start moving up in your time, I would recommend that you go like a little bit longer one day, then it'll be a little bit less the next day. So you might be working up one day, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, where you're going up to 9, 10 minutes, but the other days, the next day, you only stay down at 5. The next days, you keep building up to where you're 15, 20, and the next day you're at 5 again. So it's just this hard, easy principle as far as your cardio work, but it's also just being careful with your joints, with your bones, muscles, to make sure that you're not overdoing anything. So use your common sense there. Listen to your body very closely. If you feel like you're kind of tired, run down, you've got a little achier than usual, maybe that would be a good day to just go ahead and take off and rest, pick it back up again the next day. But definitely pay attention to that resting or that hard, easy principle where you're picking it up a little bit, but then the next day you take it back down easy again, then the next day you pick it up again. And again, you may start at 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes. You're building up to 10, you're building up to 15. Next thing you know, you're up to 30 minutes, maybe some of those days. Other days you might be down at 5 or 10. Other days you're up at 30. So keep building though toward to where you can get to where you can go up to 30. But some people, you may not ever really be able to get up to 30, and that's totally fine. You may do where you're 30 minutes in a day, but it's 30 minutes not all at one time. So you may be building up to where you're building up to where you're going 2 different times in the day to start out with, and they're both 5-minute times. eventually they're both 10-minute times. And eventually you have like a 10-minute and a 5-minute and another 10-minute. You do what you need to do. If you get over 10, 15 minutes and you start having too much pain, maybe you're better just sticking with the 10 or 15-minute times. So you do what you need to do. There's so many factors in there that it's just too complicated to just give a general information, to give a general advice on that. You really have to take it by yourself and what feels good to you. It makes such a difference on how, again, how much body weight you're carrying around, extra body weight, whether or not you're dealing with other issues, how your joints are doing. It makes a difference on the surface that you're walking on and the weather, all kinds of different things. So just keep it in mind to just, do the best you can to get that 30 minutes in a day, or to work up to that 30 minutes in a day. But if it ends up being broken up into other segments, that's totally fine. And build up slowly. Always progress slowly with that. Another thing to keep in mind, some people like to keep track of steps. So they may have a step pedometer of some sort. There's all types of them out there these days, and these can be great little gadgets to just help you stay motivated, to remind you it's time to get up and go do something, to remind you you haven't moved much today, so it's time to go do something. So if you're looking at what might be a good goal for you, like I mentioned, that 30 minutes a day, a good goal for you might be to shoot for getting 6,000 steps a day. And that, again, isn't where you start. You start at, you may start at 1,000 steps a day, and you just keep building up and building up slowly and gradually. And again, easy, hard, until you're getting to where you're getting that 6,000 a day. And that would be a good goal. So again, it all needs to be very much your plan as far as how you're going to do your workouts and how you're going to fit this into the flow of the week and how it all happens, as far as, again, like I said, that's that flexibility every day and that range of motion, those types of things every day. And then as far as the strength training, 3 times a week, and the aerobic stuff every day that you can get it in, that aerobic. So the days that you're doing the strength training would be good days to be really light on the aerobic work, for example. So for example, you would want to, maybe Monday, Wednesday, Friday I'm going to walk only for 5 or 10 minutes, but then I'm going to, or do some sort of aerobic machine, but then I'm going to do my strength training, and then I'm going to finish up with stretching. But then the other days, okay, I'm not doing my strength training, but I'm going to warm up a little bit. I'm going to do some light stretching. I'm going to do my more aerobic routine, and I'm going to come back to more stretching, but I didn't do any strength training today. I'm just letting my muscles kind of rest. I'm stretching them, relaxing them, getting them fluids by going out and walking or exercise biking or whatever, but I'm not doing the strength training. So that would be a pretty good routine. And then, like I said before, if you feel like one day you're just really feeling bad, but today is my strength training day, it might be best to do a really lighter version of that, or even just go ahead and skip it altogether. You don't want to skip movement, but there may be times when you need to settle down as far as your aerobic exercises or your strength exercises, but you do definitely want to make sure every day you do some movement. So I'm going to go into some basic key points as far as for all people that are dealing with arthritis and trying to exercise, and just some key points to go through. The first thing is to always follow your healthcare practitioner's advice as far as what types of exercise would be best for you, things that they might be concerned about you not doing certain things and that kind of thing. So always keep that as a forefront, the first thing to keep in mind. Also, if you are dealing with any not arthritis, but if you're dealing with any artificial joints, the hip, the knee, you again would be better off making sure what is it that they're telling you that you should be doing or should not be doing, and follow those so that you get the best use of that joint and also the longevity of that joint. So always, like I mentioned before, start slow, progress carefully. Make sure you've got all 3 of those components into your routine. They're all important for different reasons. So I mentioned a minute ago about not overdoing it. So there's a term called overloading, and overloading is not, I mean, before I was kind of talking about overworking or getting tired, maybe going too far, too fast, but overloading. If you're standing for a long time, like you have to be standing on your feet, or if you go out for a really long walk, longer than usual, or even if you're just going to expand your time of your walking time, it'd be really nice for you then to go ahead and get off of your feet, sit down, prop those feet up, and just let those muscles and joints relax a little bit. What this does is it allows the cartilage to decompress. It allows it to relax. If you've been standing, it's compressing. If you've been walking for a long time, maybe not as bad, but you're still doing a little compression. So being able to get off of those feet, sit, relax, and let all that decompression really does allow the cartilage to expand to where it can soak up the nutrients, soak up the fluids that it needs to stay healthy. So this is going to be very important. And again, like I mentioned before, making sure that you're doing that, even during the course of your day, stand for a while, sit for a while, stand for a while, sit for a while, as much as you can, and not just standing for long periods or sitting for long periods. So, work hard for a while, rest for a while, work hard for a while, rest for a while, and learn what works for you best as far as that routine daily to make you feel good, to make you feel like you're not overdoing it and getting worn out, to make sure your joints are feeling good. So also very important to practice good posture, whether you're seated, whether you're standing, whether you're sleeping, and driving, doing chores. Make sure you're always using good posture, and make sure you're moving correctly when you're doing motions. Make sure you're using your legs and not your back when you're lifting, for example. Make sure you're not twisting from a standing, leg straight position. Make sure you're using your legs and kind of twisting your whole body, or even better, turn. So making sure you're using good mechanics, good movement, correct movements. Making sure if you're walking, if that is not so much if you're on an exercise bike, of course, you can do that barefoot, I guess, if you want to. But if you're out walking, making sure you have good supportive shoes for your feet. If you're flat-footed, you're going to use different shoes than if you had a high arch. So make sure that you're using what's good for your feet, and there are people that are available to help you find the right shoe for you, and that will be very beneficial to your walking program. Anybody dealing with arthritis probably knows the benefits and the joy of aquatic exercise, as far as being in that water. And the buoyancy of the water helps support you, helps support those joints, feels good, and makes it easier to move and just be able to exercise and do the range of motion. So a really good option for people dealing with arthritis. Avoid vigorous activity, avoid quick movements. So something that wouldn't be as recommended, obviously, would be going out and playing a game of softball when you haven't been exercising and your joints aren't used to moving that way anymore. Going out and doing something where you take off and run a sprint. So again, that might be softball, that might be something. So you got to, if you're going to take up a new sport, say a new sport being pickleball or joining the senior softball league, you need to really work up to that and train for that. And then also you're going to be very protective of your joints in doing that activity. So you may not be as in a hurry to get that ball as you were back when you were 25, for example. So again, it's being careful and protecting those joints from quick movements and jerky and vigorous movements. So another thing is exercise when you have the least amount of pain in the day. So you may feel tight and sore and not feeling good in the morning. Later in the afternoon might be the time of day for you. You pick the time of day that you're not as stiff, you're not as sore, and that's your exercise time. There's something called a 2-hour pain rule. That doesn't mean you're going to be in pain for 2 hours. That's the idea. The idea is not to be in pain for 2 hours. So the 2-hour pain rule basically says that if you go out and you go for a walk and you come back 2 hours afterwards, you shouldn't feel worse than before you walked. So you should always keep that in mind. Anytime you go out for a walk or you go for a bike ride or you go to the gym, if 2 hours later, if you feel worse than when you went, then maybe you've overdone it and you need to cut back a little bit in the future. So the idea here is not no pain, no gain. The idea is no pain, no pain. Okay, we don't want you to be in pain. Pain is going to slow things down for you, and you're not going to be comfortable and you're not going to be happy. So we want you to be no pain. So cut back if you've got pain 2 hours after your exercises. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this in a moment, but I want you to feel comfortable with the idea of warming up and cooling down and what that means and how that's used to the best. When I say warm up, warming up doesn't mean stretching. You should never stretch when you're cold. You should always warm up before you stretch. So warming up may be going out and walking, for example, or getting on the exercise bike, and that's getting your joints and everything moving. Warming up might be the same as going through just range of motion. And we're going to try that and give you an example of that in a minute, the warm up that I use to start my balance class here at the Arthritis Center. So it is a gentle movement. It is a gentle walk, a gentle bike ride, gentle on the stepper machine, or gentle movements, and then you are warmed up. And then that's a great time to stretch. Okay. However, you could stretch a little bit and then you could go do your cardio, go do your strength training, whatever you're going to do. And then at the end, even better time to stretch after you've done your cardio and after you've done your strength training. So the stretching kind of comes in there twice. Make sure you warm up. Maybe do a little bit of stretching, especially specific to what you're doing. So if you are going to be out walking, for example, you may warm up and walk a little bit, and then you stop and do some calf stretching, some hamstring and quadricep stretching, so that you're good to go for your walking. That may not be the same as if you were going to get on an exercise bike, but just keep it in mind to warm up, then to stretch, cardio machine or cardio exercise, and/or strength machine exercise, and then at the end, stretching. And the stretching can kind of go along with cooling down. Anytime that you're going to walk or use a machine, at the end you should be cooling down anyway. You should just be going ahead and slowing down till that you stop. It's a nice gradual stop, and it isn't like I'm going full speed ahead and then bam, I stop. That's not good for muscles, joints, cardiovascular system. It's not good for anything. So you always want to just kind of start slowing down, and you stop, and then you can maybe do some more stretching at the end, and that's a good way to finish up your routine. So I'm going to show you, like I said, again, a routine to follow for the warm up and movements. But before that, I want to go through one more thing, and that is, when I was talking about arthritis in general, and these are just some general ideas as far as exercise, some general points, but I do want to talk about rheumatoid arthritis in particular, where people have flares. And so there are going to be times when they're feeling really good, not so bad. And then there are going to be times when they're maybe having flares and they're not feeling very, very good. So one thing to keep in mind is that, rest is needed, and probably the thing of choice when you're going through a flare, but it is really not a good thing to go ahead and quit all of your activity. So you do want to rest, but you don't want to halt all activity. You still want to be doing those range of motion exercises the best you can, getting a little bit of movement in as best you can. So even if you're dealing with a flare, aquatic exercise is a good option during rheumatoid arthritis flare time. So that would be a good choice, because again, that water is going to feel good. It's going to support your joints. So a good option. But just remember, the main thing is that movement is what is going to help keep you mobile. If you start getting into the habit of where you're not doing your exercises and the pain is possibly going to get worse, you're going to be less mobile. It's just going to be in a downward cycle. So we really want to keep you moving. Even if you're dealing with rheumatoid arthritis, but You may slow it down in the flares and then pick it back up a little bit more when you're not in flares, but at least when you're in the flare, make sure you are doing something, even if it's just minimal. So, all right, so I'm going to back up here and I'm going to show you exercises that we go through. We have two different exercise classes here at the Enterite Center that are considered arthritis foundation classes. So that means we do focus on making sure we keep people healthy who are dealing with arthritis, and even people that aren't dealing with arthritis. As far as these exercises, still good for anyone. But our balance classes are basically the same thing that I just mentioned, as far as doing a warm-up movement, doing some strengthening, doing some stretching, and doing some things just specifically for balance. We do not have the aerobic component there as far as our balance classes. However, we do have a walk with ease, and walk with ease, you will go through the warm-up, the stretching, the walking, the cool down, the stretching again. So those classes are both together, work really well to make sure that you're getting your cardio and also your strength and your flexibility. But there are other options, especially for strength and flexibility. You've got, again, I mentioned that yoga classes, Tai Chi classes, all types of possibilities out there. There's machines, there's dumbbells and things that you can do. So I'm going to show you some basic range of motion exercises, and this would be a great thing to do. Remember I said that this would be good to do every single day. Every single day to work your joints and range of motion exercises. So as far as this is what we do for our warm-up, and I will take you through it. And it wouldn't be a bad idea to do this every single day. So the first thing we do is we sit up in a chair, and it's a nice solid chair. It's not anything rickety or it's going to roll. Nice solid chair, you sit up straight. Suck the belly in, knees are straight ahead, feet are flat on the floor. Pull the shoulders back and pull the chin in. And this is what we're always going to call our posture, our good posture. So once you're in that good posture, the first thing that we start with is just really gently moving the neck. So we might move the neck side to side first. So just very gently side to side. We don't yank. We don't try to force it. We just go back and forth a few times. Then we go the other direction. So it's back and forth, up and down. Again, not pushing it past where it's comfortable, just moving just to warm the muscles up. And then the last one here for the neck is looking left to right. All right, now we're down to the shoulders. So what I'm going to do with the shoulders, I'm going to pull my shoulders up to my ear, and then I'm going to roll them back around behind, almost like a half C, down to the start position. Up to the ear, down and around, up to the ear, back and around. And once I do that a few times, I'm just going to roll my shoulders. And it feels good. I can make figure eights. I can just go in circles, front and back, just whatever feels good. You're just moving those shoulders and those muscles up there of your, around the clavicle and around your shoulder blades. So you're just moving those. So now you're going down. We're moving down the arms here. So we're going to the arms and we're going to the elbows. So we're moving those elbows all types of directions, but again, you can tell that I'm not doing anything where I yank, where I force anything. I'm just moving what feels good. And I'm also going to start moving those wrists as well. So I got all kinds of direction going here and just what feels good to move. Once I've got those wrists going, I also get the fingers going. Fingers have a lot of joints. When you talk about all 5 fingers and all those joints, so I want you to make sure you get all of those joints moved. The wrist in all the different directions that a wrist will move. Do the best you can. And just Warm it up. All right. Let those hands dangle. When I say take a deep breath, what I do with my people is take a deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. And that's always a count of 6. So it's in through the nose for a count of 6, out through the mouth for a count of 6. And you should feel that coming down all the way down as deeply as you can into your belly. So all right. Next one we do is we're working on this midsection here. So we're just going to take our elbow and put it to the opposite knee. Now, it may not go there at first. You may only be doing this. And that is totally fine to just be doing this. As you get more warmed up and as you get more flexible, you may get to where you are going all the way to the knee. And some people might even be going past the knee. It's always a nice, slow, careful motion, and it's not a yanking, twisting motion. With all of these exercises, you're breathing. Nice, deep breathing as you do them so that you're not holding your breath. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go down to the a little bit lower here on the midsection and down into the hip. So what we're doing is we're sitting in our chair again, get that good posture, shoulders back, and we're going to pick ourselves up off the chair one half at a time, trying to keep our shoulders still. So you're not doing this motion, okay? This is not right. Shoulders are mostly still, and you're trying to pick yourself up off the chair, pick this side up off the chair. Picking yourself up off. You should really feel those side muscles pulling really hard. Your spine is going back and forth, and it feels really good, hopefully. All right, now we're going the other direction. So now the spine was going, like this. Now the spine is going to be doing this. So basically what we're doing is putting our belly out, belly back, out and back, nice and gentle. Make sure you breathe, relax, breathe out, relax. All right. Make sure you want to go back to that starting position, sitting straight up again. So now we're going to go down to the hip joint and the hip flexors here. So what we're doing is we're pretending that we're getting out of a car, and where we have to bring our leg way up and over. So we're basically bringing this right knee up and out and back. Okay, so it's out and back over. Just like you're getting out of that car. And when you're doing these, all of these for the first time or two, just do a couple of them. So we may stop there, but as you do get more and more used to it, you may get to where you're doing up to 10, 11, 12, even up to 15 of those. But you just do it gradually and build your way up. So here we go on the left and out. Again. This shouldn't feel bad in any of these exercises. And you may feel those muscles working, but if you feel something in a joint that causes you pain, sharp pain, I want you to stop, talk to me, talk to the physical therapist, talk to your physician, and see what's going on there with why that pain is there. And you may feel a little achiness afterwards doing your exercises. But that achiness is going to be probably just your muscles working hard. And hopefully you rest and that goes away. But if you've got a sharp pain in a joint when you do a motion, that's something that we need to attend to. So you just worked on those hips down to the knees. So with the knees, you have two options. One is to take it and go in a circle. If that circle is uncomfortable for whatever reason, you could just do this out and back. So just swinging like a pendulum. Okay, so if you do the circle, you may make 5, 6 circles and you may go around the other direction. And again, all of these numbers start out really small numbers, and then you work your way up to where you're maybe doing 10 circles each direction. Other leg, same thing, circle, or maybe just an out and back. All right. And then go the other direction. All right. Down now to the ankles. And there's two different things I like to do with the ankles. First, I like to take them up and just back and forth like you're hitting a gas pedal and a clutch. Remember gas pedals and clutches? Gas and brake. Yeah, I guess you wouldn't want to hit the gas and brake at the same time, but either way, gas, clutch, brake, whatever. Just dab back and forth with those ankles. And then I want you to go ahead and rotate them. So again, unless that causes you pain in the ankle. Otherwise, rotate, figure eights, do whatever creative motions you can do with your ankles and get them warmed up. All right. And then lastly, what we do is we do the toes. And with the toes, and even the arches of your feet, if you have something around like say a rolling pin, but even if you don't have a rolling pin, if you have a can of green beans, if you have a something that's around, a tennis ball, works out really well. Put it on the floor, have your bare foot, put your arch on it, roll back and forth. That's a good one to warm up those arches. And the toes, though, you have a towel, an imaginary towel. You put it out in front of you, and then you grab it with your toes and you're pulling it back. So you just pulling back. Or if you have your shoes off because you just rolled your foot on a tennis ball, leave your shoes off, put the towel down, pull that towel back with your feet, your toes. And you can do the fingers some more if you want. This is kind of a habit of mine to just do the fingers at the same time. And you're just pulling those toes, warming those joints up. The toes have joints as well. And then you relax and you take another nice deep breath. So now with that routine, which took us all of maybe 10 minutes, we have moved every joint in our body and got it warmed up to do some activity. So the activity might be, again, some strength training. It might be some balance and types of class. It may be, going to go for a walk even. But you're moving all of those joints, and that's important to do every single day. So again, the stretching part, I won't go into today. We are going to be doing a stretching video down the road as well. But I would highly recommend that you get your routine started if you're not doing it already, to make sure you're doing this type of warm-up every single day, and then make sure you're getting in your stretching, make sure you're getting in your strength, and make sure you're getting in your cardio. So I'm always available for one-on-one consultations to help you with those routines as well. Feel free to email or call over here at the Arthritis Center, and I'll be glad to help you out. So, all right, nice to meet you all.